Hey there, guys. It's me, Phil. Wanted to say hi. Sorry I can't be there with you this morning. I hope you guys are having a good day, and hopefully this class will make things a little more interesting, a little more exciting. So I hope that even though I'm not there, you guys are having a great time anyways. So without further ado, let's jump in and we'll get started. So today we're going to be working with selections. Now, the main point, we're trying to do a really refined selection compared to some things we've been doing before, and we'll be using this in future future projects. So make sure that when we're done with your project today, you save it as a JPEG so I can see what you did today, but also save it as a PSD. That way we can always come back to it, because we're going to be using this in a project probably tomorrow or so. Or next time we meet. This will be showing to you guys on Friday, so next time we meet. All right. So get in there, open up Photoshop, and get up a new document. So as you can always see, I have that already going. Okay. And then we're also going to need to go and find a picture of someone online. Okay. And there's a couple of guidelines to keep in mind here. 4 in particular. All right, let me make sure we can move this so we can see it. Okay. Okay, Photoshop, work with me here. All right. So first of all, we're looking for a picture that has a person's face. We don't really want a full body picture. So if you're going to do an athlete, that's great. I know you always want to do the really cool shots of them making they're doing their crazy move, or doing their crazy dance, or whatever it is they do. But right now, just focus on getting a picture of them that's just on the face. Okay. Number 2, get a high resolution photo. We're going to be doing some very refined stuff, so you need a high resolution photo. If you're doing stuff that's if your picture you find is below 1,000 pixels, keep looking. That one will probably be too small for us, at least for what we're trying to do here. Okay. 3, to make your job easier, and to make Photoshop's job easier, you want your picture that there to be a lot of contrast between the person and the background. Okay. And lastly, you want them to have hair. All right. Now I'm going to walk you through some examples of what this means. All right. So I came over here and I looked up Jennifer Lawrence. All right. And so I found a couple different pictures. I think let's see, these 2 pictures in particular. All right. And let's talk about them. First, face, not full body. Okay. This is primarily it's her face. Primarily it's her face. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for right now. It's perfect. That's what we need. Number 2, high resolution. Well, this picture is 1800 by 2700. That's a really large picture. Okay. Normally we don't work with pictures this big, but for what we're doing right now, this is perfect. Okay. This picture is 1024 by 700 basically, and that's smaller, but that's still pretty good fit. We could work with this one. Okay. Lastly, I'm skipping ahead here. She has hair in both of them, and that's good. But what we're really looking for are these little wispy edges of hair, okay? Because these are things that would normally be very, very hard to select, all right? And so that's really what we're going for today. Here, she kind of has that, but not as much, okay? And so right now, I'm kind of leaning towards this. It's bigger. It's got more of the hair that I'm looking for. And lastly, high contrast in background. Well, this picture, it's very light blonde hair on a very light background. That's going to make it much harder to select her hair. You could still probably do it, but it's going to be much harder versus this one. It's her hair on a dark background, or at least darker background. So this is the one I'm going to be going with. If you can find this picture, you can use it. Or if you can find another picture that has some similar features, go for that. But we just need some picture that has these 4 requirements. Okay. So I'm just going to go and delete this layer, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. So I right click on it, I go to copy image, I go to Photoshop, I hit edit, paste, perfect. I've got my picture right in there. All right. Now, so again, I don't know if you can see this on your monitors, but this is the effect that I was looking for. All these little hairs, these little, one strand that's just kind of flying away. Because her hair doesn't look like a helmet or something. It's not, this is hair and then it's not hair. There's this kind of gradation almost. All right, and that's what we want to keep, okay, once our selection is done. But how do we do that? Well, we've talked about a bunch of different tools before. We've talked about the lasso tool, okay? The problem is that, I mean, you're going to try and make a selection like this with the lasso tool. You're going to be at this for the next 10 years, okay? So lasso tool isn't going to help us here. Magic lasso, I mean, Photoshop is good, but not that good, all right? And then, whoops, okay. And then we talked about quick select tool, but that's the same thing as the magic lasso tool. It's just not going to be able to get all this fine detail that we want, okay? So, that said, I am going to start with the quick select tool. And all I'm going to do is try and get a really rough approximation of the selection I want, okay? So as you can see, I've gone in and it's not a good selection, all right? There's all sorts of stuff that's being missed, but it's a start, okay? So I've selected the background, okay? But what I want to do is I want to invert the selection. So right now I'm selecting the background and I'm not selecting her. I want to flip that so I'm selecting her and not the background. So to do that, I go to select at the top menus and I hit select, inverse. Once that's done, as you can see, it's changed where these little marching ants are. So I'm now selecting her. Perfect, okay? That's what I want. But as I said, it's not a great selection because there's still all this stuff I'm missing. We got to find a way to fix that, all right? So none of our other selection tools are going to work, but we have our friend, the Refine Edge button right up here. So I'm going to go and click on that while this selection is going. Okay, so if you try and make the selection make a copy of another layer or something, it's not going to work. The selection has to be going, and you have to have it on the layer. All right, so I'm going to go to click Refine Edge, and when I do that, a couple things happen. First, in the main screen, it's going to show me a preview of what my selection looks like. So all the stuff I had not selected disappears, okay? And secondly, this little dialog box pops up, okay? And so this is going to be showing me the Refine Edge options, okay? So if you want to see, how the different things are going to be affected, you can click over here and see, okay, how do I want to see what my selection is looking like? So it'll show you the marching ants. You can try the overlay where, everything in red is not being selected. On black, on white, same thing as this overlay thing. I'm just going to keep it like this because this will show me more or less what my final result is going to be. All right. So that's good. I just click away once I have what I want. All right. Now let's get on to actually trying to refine this edge. All right. There's all these options, but the main ones we want to focus on are right here. Okay. The radius, okay, which is this slider right here, basically defines how sharp, I guess you might say, the selection edge is. Okay, so when you have 0 pixels, it's going to be right where you drew that line. If you increase the radius, okay, as you notice, I'm starting to get some of that hair coming back in. All right, and this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. All right. I can also hit Smart Radius, and I'll just let Photoshop decide what the best radius is for me. And you can always go back and touch it up. All right. And the very cool thing is, because let's do this. I'm going to turn back to Reveal Later shows us the original picture. Okay. So there's still, if I compare this did a really, really good job. But there's still some things. Okay. So right around here, there's stuff that's missing. Over here, there's some stuff. So there's stuff that is still missing. Okay. So what I can do, let's see here. I'm going to leave this in the Reveal Later for a moment. Okay. I have this tool selected. Okay. And this is my Refine Radius tool. And what it'll do is I'm going to go over and paint in areas where I don't think Photoshop is getting a good enough selection. So I'm just going to say, okay, I want you to look more closely right over here where there's all these little flyaways. Okay, and you can spend a while just getting a nice refined edge, okay? And it'll take a while to get everything the way you want it. But once you have something, you let it think, and then when you turn back to the on layers, it went back in and added all those effects. That is perfect, okay? So I'm just going to go back and keep trying to just play with this because I want to get all those little wisps because that's what hair really looks like, and that's what we want in our effects. Okay, so you can spend a long time on this. You don't need to just go too crazy, but once you have what you want, okay, right on here at the bottom it says output. All right, and that determines what does it do once it's refined your selection. Now, you know me, I always prefer layer mask because you can always go back and edit those later. So all I'm going to do is change this from selection to layer mask, hit OK, and now it's basically applied our selection as a layer mask. And so now I can come back to the background layer. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to grab, let's see, my paintbrush tool and find some sort of crazy color. And I'm going to paint. All right. And I know that's a hideous color, but if you look in, still her hair is still showing through, and that is exactly what I wanted. This is perfect. Perfect. All right. Okay, so perfect. And now we've got this selection going, but let's see if we can't take this a little bit farther. All right. We've got our selection, but we're going to go and try and push this picture to the next level. Because again, what we have here, we're going to be using in our next project. So we want this picture to be as epic as possible. Okay. So first things first, I've got my selection. I don't want any mistakes to happen. So I'm going to make a copy just to make sure if something goes horribly wrong, I don't lose anything. So I'm going to go click and drag this down to the new layer button to create a copy. Okay. And for what I'm about to do now, I don't want a layer mask on the layer I'm on. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to hit, let's see here, apply layer mask. Okay. And that'll apply the selection. All right. At least to this layer. All right. Now, we've been using filter quite a lot recently, and today is no exception. We're going to go up to our filter, and we're going to go right to the bottom where it says other, and we want this high pass. All right. When you click on this, a little pop-up box will show up, and this or something like it should happen to your image. All right. And I'm sure someone could get up there and explain all the, how Photoshop actually does this. But if you play with this slider, it'll basically affect what you're doing. What we're looking for is an effect something like this. And all it's going to really do is call out some of the details. Okay, so if you can, let's see here. So if you can see right here in this thing, it's going to take it from, well, I guess from this to that, and that really just makes those little edges really stand out. Okay, so once you have that, you hit OK. All right, and we have this nice high pass thing. Okay, we're going to use this by going to our blending mode. Okay, another thing we've been talking about a lot recently. Okay, so we've got this high pass layer selected. All right, I'm going to click on the blending mode and change it from normal to overlay. Okay, right here in the middle. Okay, now when I do that, this layer will overlay the original picture I had, or my original selection. All right, and what's going to do is make sure features really just pop. So I'm just zoom in here. Here's what it looks like before we apply that high pass. Here's what it looks like after. And it just adds that extra little oomph to our picture. All right. So now we should have covered all the things I was going to go over today. So if you're at this point, that's awesome. Make sure to save what you got. And again, I've said this before, I'm going to save it again. Save this as a JPEG so I can grade it, and save it as a PSD because we're going to be using what you have today in further assignments. Okay, so don't forget that PSD. Do not forget that PSD. All right, and then if you've got some extra time, go ahead and experiment with this. Maybe get another actor's head and try doing it with them. Maybe you found you wanted to try, some different hairs, see how far you can push the selection. Maybe you want to try working with this high pass a little bit. But try these and see what you can come up with. All right? And I look forward to seeing what you have when I get back on next time we meet. Till then, guys.